Lesson 24, Science 8, and it's finally time to explain what happened to the pod after it hit the space station. You need your pencil, today's journal slip, and your science journal. So we have one last email from Central Command, and this email is giving us the exact masses of the ACM pod and the space station. Look, right here it says the pod is 1,100 kilograms, but the space station is way more massive. It's about 415,000 kilograms. How can you use this evidence about mass to help you compare the speed of the pod to the speed of the space station after the collision? And based on this new evidence, which claim do you think best explains what happened after the crash? Do you think that the pod is now moving faster than the space station? Are the pod and the station moving at the same speed? Or is the pod moving more slowly than the space station? Here, let's use this reasoning tool to get down our initial thoughts. You can see here that I've listed the evidence about the masses of the pod and the station. Now, why does this evidence matter? Write your reasoning in this box, and then based on this reasoning, which claim makes the most sense? Write out the claim statement, 1, 2, or 3 in this box. Do this now. To help us think through this a bit more, we're going to create a model to show what happened. You could draw out the model on your slip or work digitally. It's your choice. But your model has to show what happened before, during, and after the collision. Object B right here is going to represent the pod with a medium mass, and object C is going to represent the space station with a larger mass. Now, show what happens during and after the collision. You can use these blue markings to represent velocity and these pink arrows to represent forces. Go ahead and make your model now. This is a really important part of your thinking because you're applying what you know to explain those missing seconds. All right, let's see how you did. After all, the whole purpose of making models is to help us explain an event. First, the pod with less mass was moving toward the space station. The space station was actually stationary or still. When the pod collided with the space station, a force was exerted on the space station in one direction, and an equal strength force was exerted on the pod, but in the opposite direction. Now, because the pod has less mass than the space station, the same size force caused a greater change in velocity for the pod than the space station. The effect was that the pod and the space station are now moving away from each other, but the pod is moving faster than the space station. You really should be figuring out that although the strength of the forces are equal but opposite in direction at the moment of impact, how that force affects the objects depends on mass. The pod is way lighter compared to the space station, so that force is going to really change the velocity of the pod more than it's going to change the velocity of the station. And I've shown that with longer velocity markings here on the pod as compared to the station. It's now time for you to construct your final explanation. If you listened carefully to when I was explaining the model, you'll hear that I used all of the key terms on the screen. Of course, you can replay mine over and over for help. That's the beauty of a screencast. Take time to do this on your journal slip. The Science 8 teachers are going to carefully evaluate these final explanations, so make sure it's the best it could be. Well, that's it. You did it. You applied the ideas of forces in motion to explain what went on during those missing seconds, and that should make you feel good. From all the Science 8 teachers, here's what we want to say about all your hard work.
I just want to tell you, congratulations, it's a celebration. Party all day, I'm moving away. Congratulations, it's a celebration. I just want to tell you that you're amazing.
You are amazing, Science 8. So amazing that I know you're going to rock tomorrow's performance assessment. Today, submit your journal slip, and then make sure to review and organize your science journal in preparation for tomorrow. Until then, keep thinking, keep learning, and you might want to do some reviewing before tomorrow.